everyone. Good afternoon. What is our new Earth? What are the templates for our new Earth? What does that mean to you? We're going to be talking about that and much, much more this afternoon. In today's Reawaken You, someone made me really angry the other day. Now, in the past, I would have stuffed down my anger, not acknowledged it, just been continue to fume, kind of let it just steep in there, and then I would have been super cranky. But what I've learned to do is to, one, acknowledge it and embrace it, because so many times we see things as good as bad, and there really isn't a good or bad, it just is. And so I'm going to encourage you, if you have an emotion like anger, fear, whatever it is, to embrace it, and then that way, whatever's going on, you're able to release it. And this what I was angry about the other day, I was really cranky at someone. I ended up realizing, okay, you're cranky at someone, but how are you involved? What does it have to do with you? Because there's a message here for you. And when I took it down, that's what I like to call like going through the layers. I was able to discover a fear I have. So this anger was a gift of showing me something that I was still afraid of that I would then be able to release. So I'm going to encourage you, don't see emotions as being negative or positive, just what they are, and accept them and then move forward. All right, we're going to tell you about today's guest. Anrita Melchizedek is founder of the, I'm really trying hard on this one, on the Melchizedek and Pleiadian Light Network, an ascension network of light. Anrita is an author, channel, star ambassador, and workshop facilitator. She has the gift of healing and focuses energy through ascension workshops and global lectures. She is a master teacher and also offers individual consultations, including DNA activations, light body, Merkaba activations, and channeled readings by the elders, ancient celestial beings, and high council members of the Order of Melchizedek. Anrita's teaching style offers keys to self-mastery. Currently, Anrita channels the elders, ancient celestial beings, and high council members of the Order of Melchizedek. Anrita lives in Cape Town, South Africa, and has two sons, Benjamin and Kaylin. Shaylin, am I saying that right?
Hi, Julie. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Yeah, I do have two children, two boys, but there's a story in that, so possibly we'll get to talk about that shortly too.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to first get started. When you talk about New Earth, what do you mean? Because someone out there listening might not be familiar with that term or maybe read different things. What does it mean to you?
Well, I think when we talk about the New Earth templates, we're really talking about the fifth dimension templating of this golden age of light. So there's many things that are happening on a planetary level that are taking us into what we call specifically the unity grid of divine love. This is the grid of light that exists within us and around this earth plane, and it connects all of us through the consciousness of what we call the I am avatar consciousness of light, which is the higher light of the beloved I am presence of humanity. So, of course, through the ages, we've experienced many golden ages, and this is another golden age that we're moving into. And when we move into these golden ages of light, we start to experience much more of the multidimensional aspects of creation. And with that, we come into a deeper knowing and remembrance of our own magnificence and light, and also a deeper level of knowing of being here of service to Mother Earth and all her life. And when we start to move into that sense of remembrance, we activate the dormant DNA. And the dormant DNA, of course, is activated in numerous ways. But at the same time, it's also with particular templatings that exist around us and within us. And those activations through the unity grid occur through sacred geometries, through numerology, through fractal geometries, through things that we call the axiatonal lines, and of course, too, the ley lines and the primary chakras or vortices of Mother Earth. All of these shifts through the light frequencies affect us in consciousness and activates a deeper level of remembrance within us. So that's what we talk about when we say we're starting to access the New Earth templates of light. We're starting to raise our vibration into the fifth dimensional solar templating of light, creating the crystalline matrix at a cellular level within the body.
Can you give us some examples of things that people might be experiencing with these New Earth templates that they might not be aware is what's going on. Like, for instance, I've read, and you might agree or disagree, and please elaborate, that nausea, like I will get nauseous just out of nowhere. And I've read that that is sometimes with the restructuring going on. Has that been your experience?
Oh, absolutely. As more light comes down, as it comes through the galactic center, through the sun, the solar core, onto this earth plane, these light frequencies through particular planetary events, through the opening of particular portals, stargates, and also through ray frequencies and numerous angelic events. What happens is that those light frequencies that are activated within us bring up the shadow aspects too. So the more light that we actually have, the more shadow that we're bringing up to release. And I liked what you said a little bit earlier in the show, in the honoring of your full range of emotions, because I feel that, we have the human side and we've got a multidimensional side, and it's a little bit of a crazy time for all of us. We're going through these emotional oscillations. At the same time, we're having moments of a deeper level of alignment into the cosmic heart of Mother, Father, God. And it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time for everyone because we are ascending in the way of experiencing greater light within us and developing our own extrasensory perception gifts. There's just more and more people waking up every day, and we're starting to be telepathic and communicate energetically and to experience a greater level of clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. And with that too, we're also experiencing a greater purging of the emotional bodies and the old cellular memories, the false beliefs and judgments. And all of that has to come up to be embraced, to be transmuted, to be accepted, and to be released or to be given a voice. And that's when we start to move more into the knowing of, we truly are these sacred transfiguring flames of divine love. And when we start to look through our master eyes at all of life around us, even though we choose these challenges, we choose to align our will to the will of God. So there's a deeper level of trust and surrender into that process. So a lot of these challenges that we're experiencing are not only our own, but they're actually from the collective karmic clearing of humanity. So the light workers, the star-seeded ones, the way showers, those that have downstepped their vibration to assist in this ascension process of Mother Earth, to assist in raising the light frequency of all life on this earth plane. As these flames of divine love are also too creating pathways of divine love for others to follow. So we're moving through what we call the karmic timelines and the Christed timelines. The Christed timelines are the pathways of divine love, the pathways of Christ consciousness, of unity consciousness. And we're starting to come together more and more in these soul families, soul friends, soul brothers, soul sisters. And in that we create a collective consciousness of light, coming together as one unified cosmic heart. And that's really where our power comes from, in this essence of divine love and this essence of coming together in unity consciousness. And we're experiencing that a great deal now. So we're having too many shifts on this earth plane, many purges, transmutations into greater light frequencies. And when we look around us, sometimes everything just still seems a little bit crazy because, of course, all those light frequencies are bringing up the shadow aspects, not only within ourselves, but within all life here. And of course, this affects every level on this earth plane that has been structured through the old energies and moving into the transition of the new energies of light, or what we call the new earth templates of light.
Can you talk a little bit about, because you've mentioned multidimensional, and maybe I feel like I'm kind of going back and forth. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, there are days when I feel like, wow, you're superhuman today, you're feeling it. But there are other times, for instance, I was at the beach a couple weeks ago, and I felt like I was in another place. That's kind of where I relax completely. I'm completely in the present moment. And that, to me, brings me to another level. And I was talking with someone a couple weeks ago. I had a very interesting experience where I was out at an event, and again, there's no judgment in this. I would say I was at a different consciousness level, perhaps, than the people I was with, and I felt like they don't even see me. It's like I am not here with them, even though my physical body is. So can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by multidimensional and maybe some things that people might be experiencing?
Well, when we talk about multidimensional, we're talking about really, firstly, that connection into uh, our higher self of the light, or our higher light, our beloved I am presence, the highest light that we are at a soul level within the cosmic heart of Mother, Father, God. So when we talk about being multidimensional, we're having the knowing or the remembrance of actually having achieved self-mastery in many timelines and coming into that now through merging, if you would like to think of it like that, with our multidimensional selves, with our soul family, with our soul friends, connecting again to our star family and friends of the light. All these energies of light make us more multidimensional. They give us perspectives that are beyond the human perspective. They give us the understanding that truly we are angelic beings, and that we're choosing the human miscreations to firstly know what it's like to be human, probably again and again and again, but we're reaching that doorway of that shift in consciousness where that clearing, as I've explained, is not just for ourselves, but for the whole of humanity, so that all life may know themselves as love. But that multidimensional aspect, I think for me, is quite important in allowing us to observe through our master eyes, to understand truly our challenges and the human miscreations that take us into just a deeper level of humility, of love, of trust and surrender. And that path isn't easy. That path isn't easy for those awakened souls. It is often very, very challenging because those challenges are very difficult sometimes and they require a lot of courage. But these are karmic contracts and soul contracts that we make as we pave this pathway of divine love for others. So I'd like to, if you like, share my personal story, because I think it might help viewers to have a deeper understanding or knowing of what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
In terms of observing.
Yes, please share.
So my story too is also one of challenge, and it's a story that we all have our journey, we all have our story, and the stories connect us because it allows us to understand, this journey that is transformational, that is a process of transcendence that takes us along this path of divine love. So my two children that we were talking about, my beautiful boys, they're now 5 and 6. But 2 years ago, August 2012, my ex-husband, who lives in Portugal, abducted my children. And I'm still in a legal battle to get my children back. So I haven't seen much of them in the last couple of years, and I've had very little contact with them. And when I look at this contract from a soul perspective, I understand clearly, the soul contract of choosing to create this pathway of divine love, and also traveling through past lives and understanding the karmic journey there, and the knowing of actually one of the reasons of choosing this was really for my soul's forward evolution. Then when I go into the human side and I experience the grief and the pain, and also what it brought up for me initially was the need to release blame and come into forgiveness. And I think the first 6 months in particular were, obviously it's a very difficult time, but those first 6 months were pretty intense because there was still a level of blame. There was still a level of victim and persecutor consciousness, between how could this happen to me to how dare you, so many things that went on. And what I saw then recognized was that I was coming from an aspect of victim consciousness. And no matter what in this instance, in this scenario, what my ex-husband has done, or how he's played out his role, that was part of the soul contract that both of us made. Because at a higher light level, all souls are love, and we choose the journeys that will awaken within us the greatest level of divine love, of forgiveness, to allow us to embrace our pain, to allow us to embrace our anger, our guilt, our shame, and to just love and accept ourselves. But also that pathway is one of forgiveness and of letting go of blame, because in this golden age of light, that knowing that we have allows us to know that we are truly guided by our beloved I am presence and the legions of light from on high. And we have to truly trust and surrender to that. That's so much that process of aligning our will to the will of the divine. It doesn't make the journey any easier, I think, but when we come into then having a look at our own anger, we can give it a voice. This is the experience of our full range of emotions, or our own pain, or our own grief. And this is a very important part of being able to heal our own subpersonality aspects, to heal the old cellular memories that we have, that we've played out in this reality of, from a three-dimensional perspective, in that reality of human consciousness or the plane of polarity. So the more we're able to truly just come into forgiveness and come into love and let go of blame, then we're just working with ourselves. We see those around us as incredible teachers, those that press our buttons. They are, for us, the teachers that show us what we have to shift within ourselves. And that is really what we've been playing out, so long, until that time that we actually understand those lessons. That's part of that journey. The other part of the journey is to understand that we've made not only the karmic contracts, but we also make soul contracts. So the karmic contracts are often done with souls that we've experienced other lifetimes with, where we've had to play out and experience, the human miscreations, or those aspects of ourselves that need to be integrated. And the soul contracts that we're making or have made, this is prior to incarnating, we make soul contracts too with those that truly see us and honor us and love us. They are our soul family, and this really is those awakened light workers. So it's to note too that those soul contracts are coming into play, because I feel a lot of people get stuck, and I can see with myself, I go through dips, and I feel that's a very important part, those emotional oscillations, and accepting it and being with it and embracing those aspects of yourself within the flame of divine love. I visualize this beautiful diamond, golden, and white flame of divine love, and I take it really into those aspects of myself that are just needing that love and just loving myself. That's so much about what we're here to do, to just love and appreciate ourselves, to come into that energy of self-love and self-nurturing, but it's also reflecting that out to others rather than, reacting. We're observing and we're embracing and we understanding these full range of emotions and seeing, kind of the aspects of ourselves that are still being integrated into the cosmic heart of Mother, Father, God.
Talk a little bit. Well, first I want to say Lynn says blessings to you, Anrita. And I want to remind everyone, if you have a question, we have a busy chat room. Please feel free to ask it on chat. I'm happy to ask. You can call in at 919-518-9773 or Skype computers 2K voice. I feel like so many of us are challenged to forgive not only others but ourselves. So if someone's challenged by that, I love the visualization of light, but what would you say to them?
Well, I think the first thing is, acceptance and forgiveness of self is where it starts. So what has happened with the human miscreations, when we come through with this on this plane of polarity, we experience ourselves first and foremost through victim consciousness. And then in the play out, others abuse us, and then we abuse ourselves too. And part of that pattern also goes into addictions. Because we lose the essence of our divinity in this play, and we can become disillusioned and feel that sense of separation, and at the same time sometimes get so stuck in what we're working with ourselves that part of it is actually just always coming into that knowing that you truly are this being of light, this magnificent, precious, magnificent, sacred being of light, and holding to that knowing regardless of what is going on around you within your reality, because you can start to change those pictures, you can start to change those realities by the way you choose to act and react. So we can come from the old energy in which we're reacting and we're shouting and we're screaming and we're abusing each other, or we can come from the observation of loving and allowing as much as we can to forgive others. But that is forgiveness of self. It starts with forgiveness of self, and it starts too with love of self. So it's very important to go into just hugging and loving yourself and just saying, I love you, Anrita, or I love you, Julie, and I love every aspect about you, and be in acceptance of that. But it's a pathway that I feel that, will start to get a lot easier for us, because we really have just been experiencing so much from the planetary activities of light that the legions of light are being able to assist us to a greater level of the purging of the lower body, of the emotions, of the old cellular memories, the false beliefs, and the judgments. In fact, in this month of June in particular, we're having a greater influx of the divine feminine energy, which amplifies at the time of the solstice. And part of that divine dispensation from the company of heaven and the legions of light is the transmutation of the lower bodies and the human miscreations. It's like a purging and a clearing that's occurring, so we won't need to repeat many of these old karmic patterns and experiences that we've had. At the same time, all of this requires a level of consciousness. It requires a level of consciousness of being in the now and choosing. You can choose if you want to feel that anger and to feel that pain, and there's nothing wrong to feel it temporarily or momentarily, because I feel that's quite important. Otherwise, it looks like you're simply not facing those aspects of yourself that you need to integrate or to love, or maybe you're ashamed of, that you don't want to go there, or you feel guilty, or you're still caught in the consciousness of the victim and persecutor consciousness, or the lesser than and better than consciousness, or blaming others. So for me, once that forgiveness of self comes in, then it's also really about that forgiveness of others, of letting go of blame. So it doesn't matter what others have done to you, because, as souls and the experience of these many parallel realities, these many past lives that we've had, we've all played out both the saint and the sinner. And we've had, particular karmic lessons that we're experiencing and still experiencing to know ourselves as love. But now those lessons are truly taking us into a greater level of connecting to the soul, family, and friends of the light. So once we start to just embrace our full range of emotions and just start to love ourselves, when we feel that anger coming up, or that grief, that sadness, just embrace it, just love it, and give it a voice and see where it goes. And often what I find for me very useful is, in that forgiveness of others, is connecting with them at a soul light level, at this higher light level, connecting with that soul, and also expressing everything that you want them to, everything that you would like to say to them. That is very important. And then you can also hear what they have to say, and just choose to forgive and choose to love. And it's in the beginning, what I found for me also was quite interesting, is it was more a mental exercise, because, having that understanding of love and forgiveness and choosing to experience that as a spiritual facilitator or spiritual beings, which we all are, is really the first step. But the next stage beyond that is actually forgiving. So I think for a while, it is initially that mental discipline that says, I choose to forgive. And even when you're not feeling loving towards that person, just really find that love within you. And at some point, it actually shifts into that love and that forgiveness, or that forgiveness, at least to a point. You don't have to forgive someone completely. You can forgive them as much as you can right now, and just recognize beyond that to let go of the blame. And when we can do that, then we start to see how, everything in life is a series of synchronistic events, and that we're always divinely supported by the legions of light from on high, and the many beautiful souls that come in to support us as our family and friends of the light. So it is a journey truly of one of trust and surrender. It's a journey of belief. It's a journey of knowing that we are these beautiful beings of light. And I feel so much too, a lot of what we go through comes to issues of lack of self-esteem, lack of self-love, lack of feeling deserving. And that's just really how it's been, because our parents and our carers have done the best they can. But not only do we inherit those cellular memories that we play out, and our own karmic patterns that we bring through from parallel realities or past lives, but we've accumulated too the karmic events in this lifetime, or in fact, just the experiences that have taken us into that lesser than and better than consciousness. So it's quite difficult, because, there's always an aspect of our consciousness, of our human consciousness, that is in that doubt. It's the negative ego aspects that come up and they want to take over. So if you can catch the thoughts, that's also very good. If the thoughts come up that say, I'm not deserving, I'm not loving, scream them out aloud if you want to. And, at least you're getting it out your system. Then turn it into, I am deserving, I am loving. Have a look at what your greatest fears are, and allow them to come up and to release them, to shift them into, positive affirmations are also very useful. in those beginning phases. And in your mind's eye, you can almost visualize too, like a little blackboard. And you can place erase the negative thoughts that come up and replace them with positive affirmations. And it's a state of consciousness that requires a level of conscious awareness. In other words, it's to catch the little voice, to catch the negative ego aspects that come up that want to make us feel either greater than or lesser than temporarily. And when we can start to catch that, we can start to come more into the stability and equilibrium of recognizing, look, we're just going to go through these emotional oscillations to reach a point of stability, to reach a point of where we can actually embody, embrace, and hold the higher dimensional frequencies as the physical vessels of light. And until that time, just align your will to the will of God and know yourselves as love.
That's wonderful. And it's interesting because for the month of June, I have been led, and I feel this is going to be for a while, just go within, quit doing, rush, allow, I've been instructed, get your clutter out, get going, let all this releasing happen, and one, honoring the voice within, but then listening to what it says and doing it and saying if it's like, okay, you need to slow down and quit, okay, and at the same time, because it's hard, I'm like, okay, I guess I got to trust it, but we're talking about a big shift from someone who's always like, gotta move it, we gotta make it happen, gotta create.
That's so much of it too, because, often what happens is that we don't actually sit back in appreciation or in that natural intuitive flow that takes us forward where we need to be. It's like we take the hammer and we want to, bash down the wall rather than knowing that, we can just flow with grace and ease along this pathway of divine love, as I call it, where we need to go. So there is really that intuitive understanding that comes that says, be in this now. And this now also requires that time, even if you have to schedule it as part of your daily routine, of meditation, of getting out into nature. I think that sense that you were talking about of just feeling that expanded sense of peace and interconnectivity that comes with nature's experienced by all of us, being on Mother Earth's beaches and in her mountains and in her forests, is so very important to take that time out for yourself and take that time out within that perception of a busy routine. And also, of course, even the time has changed. If we have a look at what we did or fitted into a day 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, we have, instead of that 24-hour period, we maybe have 13, 14 hours, so to speak, in a day. Whereas, with the time acceleration that's also occurred, we just can't fit in as much as we used to. So it's so very important then to prioritize too, to know that a lot of what we do is actually not so very important, although it is important from the terms of, you get up, and most people, they have to go to a job, and, they spend their day or wherever it is so that they can make that money at the end of the month, and then they come home and it's family and partners and you get caught in the Monday every day. And at the same time, then you lose that time with yourself. And it's that time with yourself that takes you deeper into, like, who am I? What am I? How do I feel about myself? How am I connecting with others? Where am I in terms of my relationships and in terms of my family and friends of the light, or in terms of my consciousness? So it doesn't become so much a question, it becomes a deeper level of integration when we allow that time and space for ourselves.
Do you believe that everyone is going to, and I don't know if this is the term that you would use, is everyone going to ascend a new earth? Are we all going, or are some people, it's just not part of their journey, or I've read in some places, like, if people are dying now, it's because they're not ready and want to come back for another go around on the karma wheel. What are your thoughts?
Well, at a higher light level, we've all chosen that, and the funny thing is everything is the experience of the soul's forward evolution. So we can do that through the negative ego aspects, or we can do that through love and consciousness of light, which of course will be a much more accelerated path. But all pathways lead to God. It doesn't really matter if even the darkest soul has an aspect of light, because it comes from the cosmic heart of Mother, Father, God. So the free will choice then becomes either the free will to choose to continue to perpetuate and experience the human miscreations, or to choose to surrender and align your will with God, to choose to accept the love of the flame of Mother, Father, God, and the legions of light, and to align to your beloved I am presence. But regardless, it's all your soul's forward evolution.
Now, I'm curious. I consider myself very spiritual. I would say my husband is spiritual from a scientific perspective. If you know, after we went to the beach and he had this book, The Consciousness of Science or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I was very excited, but hadn't seen it before. So he texts me Monday night and says, I want to be a vegetarian. Now, we don't eat a lot of meat. I was a vegetarian for a long time, then started eating meat again, and I was like, okay, we'll do it. I mean, it's all good. But to me, my personal thought was there's something happened, a shift or an awareness in him, although he wouldn't say, oh, no, it's not a spiritual thing. And, I mean, the guy doesn't like vegetables. So the fact that he wants to be vegetarian, to me, that's an awakening or something. And I'm curious if you have thoughts of that, people who perhaps aren't as spiritual or maybe take a scientific perspective like my husband. Have you noticed things like that?
I'm not really quite sure on your question, Julie, but in terms of, what happens with our frequency is that we each start to tune into a resonance of what feels right energetically for our own bodies. When we first start this ascension process, when we start to anchor more light, often what happens is that we eat more. This is the first stage of growing, and often it's also energetic protection because we're working from a spiritual perspective. We may feel quite vulnerable here on this level. I know for me that, when I had my awakening in my mid-20s, I think I put on a lot of weight initially for, a couple of years, well, probably for about 5 years. I was just so deep into that process of transformation that weight for me was also like an energetic protection. And also, I needed to eat a lot of protein. And so for me, eating meat and densing myself was also quite important because I was shifting into so many light frequencies that to anchor it through the body had to be very grounded and very physical in different ways. But what is happening to more and more people is that as they're tuning into their bodies, as they're tuning in intuitively into the energies within and around them, their body is starting to, respond a lot more. They're becoming the innate healer of knowing what their body needs are. This is really just what it is. It's tuning into yourself and tuning into others energetically, because we're all experiencing a greater level of clairsentience, of sensitivity to these energies. That's why we also talk a lot about the ascension symptoms, which I'll talk about in a moment. But in terms of our eating patterns, then we go through different phases. So we might go through a time where we actually just need to integrate with a lot of protein, and sometimes it's animal protein too. And then we go through times where it's just appropriate to eat, sort of salads and fruit and vegetables and food that is a lot lighter. Of course, from a spiritual perspective too, we talk about the karma that can be, accumulated. This is one belief. If we eat, meat, or if we eat any form of, animals or fish or whatever it is, because they're living they're living sentient beings. And, from a human perspective, there are many spiritual, or many spiritual understandings around this process of not eating animals or not eating meat. But from a personal perspective, I think also it's really just about blessing everything that you eat and raising the vibration and tuning into your body. So if your body is saying to you that it needs protein, perhaps maybe just eat organically as much as you can and bless the food and, just really see what you are needing, because those needs are shifting for all of us. And sometimes it is about grounding, and sometimes it is about just being very light. I know for me, because I'm clairsentient, which means I, experience energy in a different way in terms of picking up what is going on from a planetary perspective and feeling that consciousness of life, but also feeling and experiencing many of the human miscreations, having a sense of that. And within myself, when I walk out my house, I always bring in energetic protection to just protect myself. And sometimes I need to, just be very, very grounded. And eating grounding foods, I find, is very useful for that. And other times it's just eating very lightly. But more and more, we're actually starting to eat a lot lighter now.
Talk a little bit about, you've mentioned soul families. How would someone know if they've met someone who's part of their soul family, and what's the significance of this? Are soul families coming to meet together to help raise vibration, to help each other raise their vibrations? What's the purpose?
Well, at a higher light level, we have two aspects of a higher light that we work with. The first is our higher self of the light. And then the second aspect that we integrate following that is our beloved ion presence, or our Christed over self of the light. So our higher self of the light is imbued with the vibrational essence of our higher self, which is a core group of 12 soul rays. And we are one of those 12 soul rays that make up this energetic matrix. And that core group is your soul family. So that's your soulmate, your twin flame. Your twin flame is part of the same soul energy as you. But within that group, then you've got the other 11 souls, if you want to call it that. The soul rays are your soulmates and your soul brothers and soul sisters of the light. And those contracts that you make are usually service contracts. You know, you come together to amplify your own light, to support each other. That's the first aspect that we experience. And then the next aspect through that integration, as we become more and more integrated into the energy of light that we are, that we also call the Adam Kanman body of light, or the I Am Avatar body of light, we merge with and integrate the energy of our beloved I Am presence, or our Christed over self of the light. And we're one of 144 souls that connect into that cluster, which is, you know, obviously that a little bit larger. And that too is part of our soul family, but it's also our star family. That's also the energy that connects us to this, you know, to our star family as Pleiadians, as Syrians. So within that group, you know, we could have a lot of Christed ET souls that are part of our core group. And what is happening then is that on one level, it's just, you know, those core groups are connecting all with one another, and we're merging at this higher light level. So we sometimes experience coming together with our soulmates. That's happening a lot more, or the twin flames in this golden age of light. But of course, that requires really this stability of experiencing the light energies, to have that relationship based simply on divine love and not to play out the human miscreations. But that's coming a lot more because souls are coming together to be of service. So whether they're coming together in service, in love, and choosing to be soulmates, or coming together as soul brothers and sisters, the essence of that is really one of service in love.
Do you grow completely with your soul family? Or for instance, as one works on themselves and raises their vibration, does that mean the soul family can change? Or do you come in and say, okay, it's these 10 people for life? What are your thoughts on that?
No, you don't change your soul family. Your soul family is just, you're part of a core group of 12 souls. Okay. And you always will be. But you have many connections. You know, you have many. It's like if you imagine us as these, what's a good analogy? You know, we're these bubbles. We're these bubbles of light, and we start to merge with other bubbles of light. And sometimes it's just this incredible resonance and this knowing of this person. And those knowings are what is bringing us, is what connects us. You know, and when we come together with another where we just truly know them, you know, we can amplify our service work. And when they clear, you know, we're clearing too. So we choose to ascend as a soul family. You can choose to ascend on your own. So you can have this, if that was your soul contract that you made, that you from the soul group would just work on your own issues and take yourself to the next level. But what is more common is that we're actually choosing to merge with our soul groups, with our soul family, that the whole group actually ascends into the next level simultaneously. So it's quite a unique experiment that we're experiencing in this golden age of light, because we are choosing to ascend collectively as soul family, and also doing that too in assisting humanity in lifting the consciousness of the soul groups of those souls that, you know, are needing that greater connection into the light, or needing that assistance, and they've chosen at that higher light level to know themselves as love.
Now, you've mentioned, Sue, that's 12 souls, but you also mentioned the number 144 at some point, and I've seen that number elsewhere in relation to New Earth. Could you tell us what that's about?
Well, the 144 is what we call the Christ consciousness number for this multi-universe. So we have 144 souls that merge together to form the highest soul consciousness light of who we are, which is known as our beloved I am presence, our Christed over self of the light. We also talk about the 144 unity grid of divine love. It's the components that connect every aspect of the new earth templating into one unity consciousness. We talk about also 144,000. So in 104,000 BC, there were 144,000 souls that were known as the first wave, and they chose to downstep their vibration and assist in lifting the consciousness of all life on this earth plane. And Jesus the Christ, when he embodied at 0 point, he embodied the energy of all 144 souls of his soul or monadic group, and at the same time he brought through and embodied a consciousness of light of the core group of 144,000. We also work very much with master numbers. So the 144 is one of the master numbers. It's the multiple of 12. So the other number that will come up very often is also 12. So this is a multiple of this number of 12 that brings about a great communication through the DNA of the knowing of Christ consciousness, if you would like to think of it like that. This is one aspect to what we talk about, and we also look at the master numbers 11, 22, 33, 44, and we talk very much about the master number of the fifth dimension templating is the master number 33. And 33 was also, the number, the age that Jesus the Christ passed over. But it's a master number that takes us into a vibrational frequency or templating of the fifth dimensional frequencies. It's geared into or experienced through the dormant DNA. So you could go around chanting 33, 33, or 144, 144. And those numerologies actually unlock particular key codes within the DNA. At the same time, it takes us into a greater level of consciousness and light as we start to integrate and merge with these higher dimensional aspects of ourselves and our soul family and friends.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Buddha Monk had commented that while you were talking about, speaking of 12, it's 444. So Buddha Monk actually has a question. He says, what's the difference between a monadic, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, group, which if you can define, because I don't even know what that is, and a soul group?
So the monadic group that we're talking about, monadic just means the highest light level. So that is the group of 144 souls that we're talking about, which is the matrix or the umbrella under which you merge with your beloved I am presence. And then the soul group we talk about is the group of 12 souls, okay, of which we are one.
Fantastic.
So at that monadic level, then there's 12 higher selves that come together with 12 soul rays. So we've got the higher self and the 12 souls, and then we've got 12 higher selves of the light, and each group having 12.
Okay. I'm learning so much today, I can hardly stand it. Now, you've mentioned during our interview, talked about self-mastery a lot. Is your definition of self-mastery meaning we completely love and accept ourselves, and not only doing that with ourselves, but everyone else? Does that mean that we've mastered ourselves?
Well, I think self-mastery is just choosing to commit to the knowing of ourselves as love and to, exemplify that as best as we can. But it's also not about going into, berating ourselves when we express our human nature, because that's obviously self-defeating. Self-mastery was also experienced in many parallel realities in past lifetimes. Many of us that are here, including yourself, Julie, those that are experiencing a greater level of consciousness and light have achieved self-mastery in parallel realities in timelines such as ancient Egypt and Atlantis, Lemuria, the Mayan, Aztec cultures. So those cellular memories activate at a greater level in each lifetime. And what happens with all these numerous planetary activities of light is the streams of consciousness of our highest light, or if you'd like to even think about it as your highest self of the light in that dimensional realm of consciousness or that particular timeline, they're starting to merge into this timeline. And so we're coming into greater levels of remembrance of self-mastery that will take us into a greater level of self-mastery. By that, what I mean is that we'll just awaken to the knowing that we, wake up one day and we're just this incredible artist or healer or teacher or author or writer or poet or dancer, doesn't really matter what, because we've experienced all of that before. It is very much like that movie, The Matrix, which I think is an analogy that has been used quite a lot. But, it's downloading those programs of remembrance and they just activate. And that then takes us into just a greater level of our own magnificence and light. And with that, able to observe and see life through our master eyes, able to, rather than get emotionally involved or participate, we observe in participation. That's probably the best way that I can describe it, because I see for myself, when I need to move into the grief and the sadness or the pain of perceived separation. And I call it perceived separation because it's a temporary moment in time. My connection with my children will always be there. That soul love will always be there. And that love that I have for them will never, never dissipate. It just grows stronger every day. And I connect with my children at a soul level. The fact that I don't have them with me here physically is the human side that creates a sense of heartache and loss and pain. But when I observe, when I look through my master eyes and embrace the pain and embrace the heartache and the grief, I also observe that this is just a temporary moment in time and that I will be reunited with my children again, that it is an eternal connection of light that we have and have forever had. And I think that's true with every relationship that we have around us. Sometimes it's to recognize when we just have those moments in time where life feels an overwhelm. Just recognize it as a temporary moment in time, and that too will shift as we come into a greater level of knowing, of self-mastery, and our ability to achieve self-mastery. The ability to achieve self-mastery is one where we have control over the emotions, is one where we can look through our master eyes in love in all of life around us, where we don't sit in judgment of self or others, where we're in forgiveness of self, we're in love of self, or we're moving towards that by doing as much as we can to experience ourselves as love, eating well, exercising, meditating, connecting lovingly with other souls, seeing how we can be of service to others. A lot of that work takes place on the inner plane, but it also takes place on the outer plane. Even just getting involved in our local communities or assisting where we can financially, or giving of our time or energy, or just even walking down the street and, sort of seeing someone that really needs just a little bit of money or a smile and giving that, seeing how we can be of service. That really just takes us into a greater level of self-mastery.
And we've got a question here for you on chat from Kimberly. She asked, she would like your opinion on hands-on healing versus body workers using electrical situation or maybe stimulation therapy like the TENS unit or frequency microcurrent machines to help with healing.
Personally, I feel we're all innate healers. We all have that gift of healing within us, and we can draw upon it and access it just through the belief in it, and also because it's a universal energy. It's something that flows through us and within us. And, we all have that innate gift. So I feel that is probably, one of the highest levels of cosmic intelligence or, kind of pranic energy or whatever you'd like to call it, the kasha, the ether, that is within us and around us that we can utilize for ourselves and through that ability to put our hands on others. Because once the hand chakras activate, that universal flow of just moves through us, and we're able to assist in the healing of others. From my understanding and from my perspective, I personally probably wouldn't work, which I haven't, but I wouldn't work with electromagnetic energies because they do disrupt the energy field. The same with even magnets or magnetic therapy. Magnetic therapy many years ago when I worked on racehorses, many years ago, I used magnetic therapy. I used magnets when they had injuries, and it worked really well. I saw that for ligaments and tears, and then I saw energetically and just bringing the energy field back together. And then I tried it out on myself, And what I noticed is that initially it knits together the energy field, but within 2 to 3 months, it actually creates distortions within the energy field. And a lot of those electromagnetic frequencies do the same thing. Also, there's microwave frequencies, low level electromagnetic frequencies. So it's just, that's why we say, also just be, don't sit in front of a computer all day if you can help it. Just get out a little bit into the fresh air and ground yourself. Walk around in bare feet as much as you can, because that's what grounds you into that energy. There's a lot of devices out there to just protect us from low-level electromagnetic energies, and I feel a lot of those maybe in short term won't affect you, but if you're using them regularly, sort of electromagnetic frequencies, that they definitely will affect you.
Fantastic. Thanks for asking that, Kimberly. I'm curious if, we've talked a lot about like stuff coming up for us, to the darkness to bring in the light. Been my observation that the truth globally seems to be coming out. An example I would use would be the abuse in the Catholic Church. That started to come out and it's continued to grow, and the layers get deeper. Or something like, for instance, in America, we had the whole scandal with being spied on that was brought to light. And so I'm curious if you think on a global level, if is that what's going on that you're talking about, that's to purge all the darkness globally?
Absolutely. You can't just bring in those light frequencies and not expect them to, move into every shadow aspect. And so the first things that will, come down is the distortions, through those that have created this control and power, with a focus of actually just, taking power from others or taking control of others, because that isn't a system of justice. And what we're locked into right now, this, sort of monetary grid, and, this abuse and misuse of power, and of course also through the divine feminine, the abuse of the divine feminine, all of that, has to shift, and a lot of it has shifted. So we're seeing so many of these shifts in consciousness that are actually creating revelations for all of us in waking up, where even those that are still waking up, or those of, ordinary consciousness, if we call it, look around us and go, wow, is this really happening? Or, have I been sleepwalking? Let me take a stand. So we have a lot of those energies. Then we talk about them that come through in different ray frequencies. We've got the spiritual warriors. They come through very much with the first ray energy. The first ray is the ray of will and power. Many of the movements that we see that lift the consciousness of light from grassroots level, and also from the higher light levels through the legions of light, and as we connect to them and come together as the collective unified cosmic heart. In other words, as we start to connect into what we call the I am avatar consciousness of light, we affect and create change on this earth plane. Then many of the spiritual facilitators that are way showers, that are choosing this pathway of love, are also come through either on the second ray of love and wisdom. And we also get a lot of third ray souls too that come through divine intelligence. So they then focus a lot on the technologies, the scientific side. And in essence, everyone is doing their part, their individual puzzle piece, and coming together into a collective consciousness of light. And we're immeasurable in our magnificence and light. We cannot compare our gifts. And each gift that each of us brings is unique into that collective consciousness of light, which is really what is so wonderful, because we're seeing so many new communities of light coming up, and so many things being revealed, that really it's a lot is changing, which is really good.
And what's changing with Mother Earth physically? Because I believe that we've taken advantage of the earth for so long, and that needs to change, and we need to bring that more in balance. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of people, I think in 2012, of course, we had that a lot of people thought there was going to be a physical pole shift. But, what there has been a magnetic pole shift. But also at the same time, what we're experiencing still, because of that polarity consciousness, is in large parts of the earth that, may still experience the rebalancing through floods or tsunamis or earthquakes, whatever it might be, because at the same time, Mother Earth is a living sentient being. And, she's just getting tired of these people, abusing her. And I think that we may see that as part of that rebalancing. But, and then those souls that choose to pass over through those particular natural events, or maybe not even so natural events, they're choosing that at a higher light level too, to make a difference. But I think that whole rebalancing, if we can hold that light at a higher light level, sometimes too, a lot of these natural events can be avoided when we come together and we bring together that collective consciousness of light in focus, which is why so many come together, either the new moon or the full moon, or through the, holding for tsunamis or earthquakes that may or may not happen. A lot of those are also averted. And some of those if we want to call it non-natural events, are also averted by the Christed extraterrestrials, by the ET fleets that, the many light fleets that we call from the Ashtar Command and the Galactic Federation of Light that also police this Earth, if you want to think of it from an ironic perspective, that are actually just assisting in our forward evolution and, being able to assist us where they can. Often that law of non-interference comes up, but also there's many divine dispensations that are being given to us and have been given throughout the ages, but it's just re-accelerating into greater levels of light, and it's so wonderful to see that. And I think if we can just tune into and come into the heart, we will really just feel and experience those changes within ourselves, and being able to lift the vibration of this earth plane through truly just loving Mother Earth, through appreciating her, through nurturing her, through just being an advocate of justice and being able to see that we are actually all one.
Kimberly has a follow-up question about your opinions regarding healing with crystals.
Yeah, crystals, beautiful little earthly angels. The crystal grids on this earth plane are very, very powerful. And, I would definitely say, I didn't get into that, but in terms of the healing, there's a lot of things that you can do to amplify. And crystals and pyramids, and there are definitely some wonderful things out there that we can use. Even things like those purple plates are just really wonderful to use. And I think there's just a lot of things that people have developed that just amplify those light frequencies. I know for me, in my early years as well, I used to make a lot of flower and gem essences, which was really wonderful. And you can put crystals in water, just be guided to collect a couple of crystals and, put it in a jug of water, and you can drink that every day. You've got your own crystal essence. That's also just really beautiful. And go and put that, in your flower pots, and just really take that energy of light wherever you go. I just communicate, put on some beautiful music, and, plants love that. And, just connect into their consciousness and just be nurturing and healing. And of course, we're working not here alone. We also have nature intelligence, nature spirit intelligence. So we can connect into those Davic realms. We've got the crystal devas, and we've got the flower devas, and, kind of like every single plant and tree has a particular deva and overlighting deva of healing. So it's quite a thing to know that actually this is a co-creation between this evolutionary balance that we're moving forward and involutionary balance that comes about through nature intelligence. So if we can connect into many of these natural intelligence that are here, then the other big things that we connect into, of course, are all the vortices and sacred sites. That's why so many people are drawn to particular power points and into, particular activation sites where they're either receiving or transmitting. Most of the time we simply receiving at this stage, but there are times where we just go and take our crystals and we amplify particular places, and we can put together crystal grids and take them into also those places that need to experience a greater light frequency, maybe into battle-torn areas or into places of frozen miasms. There's also a lot of planetary energies that collect. Every country has an etheric grid that has a collective consciousness, and there's the lower vibrational frequency, which is the collective consciousness on the astral level of what those people are experiencing collectively, and then there's a higher level consciousness of light through the unity grid. So it's quite interesting because we can really just assist in clearing that on every level. And water is just an incredible messenger of light. So there's many things that we can do ourselves and to assist Mother Earth, and we just create this sense of interconnectivity with one another in whatever way resonates with us.
Now, one last question for you. What one step can people take to reawaken their brilliance?
Just believe in yourselves. Believe in the knowing that you truly are these sacred transfiguring flames of divine love, and that you've come here to be of service to Mother Earth and all her life. Believe that you've made soul contracts to be with soul family and friends of the light, that you're never alone as you walk this pathway of divine love. Because I find too often there are those people that just feel, I'm so alone here, or no one understands me, or I feel very different. And, often the beings of light, chuckle because they say with cosmic humor, well, you are alien, aren't you? So it's really just knowing that support is always there for us, and we truly are loved. Each and every single one of us are truly so divinely loved and appreciated and greatly admired for our courage and our strength to walk this pathway of divine love through the karmic pathway.
Wonderful. Now, please tell your website and how people can find out more information about you and any upcoming workshops or whatever else that you're doing that you'd like to share with people.
Well, I'm heading to Europe in July, mid-July. I'll be in Portugal doing a workshop there. Then I go to the UK. I'm going back to Glastonbury. I lived in the UK for 7 years, so it is a place that's very familiar to me. And Glastonbury is the heart chakra of Mother Earth. So it has this beautiful energy that comes from Glastonbury talk. And so this work that we'll be doing is very much about the divine feminine, the goddess of light. At the same time, it's also so much about the recalibration of the divine masculine and feminine. And we're going to be doing a planetary light event in which we activate the diamond light grid, which is the flame of purity from the cosmic heart of Mother, Father, God. And it will link us into the diamond light body Merkaba field. So that's part of the work that will be experienced over that weekend workshop. And we'll also be doing something for the 8-8 Gateway of Light. So it's going to be quite exciting. I'm looking forward to going back to the UK. And I'm really hoping to get to the States too.
We need you. Sure come on over. And it's PleiadianLight.net's your web address, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I want to make sure we got that in. So PleiadianLight.net. And this is wonderful. Thank you. I can't wait to listen to this again. I have lots to learn. I'm being in the moment, and when questions come up, taking notes on the side to ask you about. Thank you. This was fantastic, and I want to thank all our listeners today. And we will see you here next week. All right, everyone, get out there and reawaken your brilliance. Bye now.
Thank you.
Tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That vidblasterguy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.